So, I'm going to be building a forge. Finally gotten around to my forge video. The old forge that I've been using, I built about 5 years ago. It's sitting over there, and it's about time to switch it out. I made it out of sheet metal, just a sheet metal box with cast refractory cement, and it's gotten to a point now where it's no longer really serviceable. So, being as how I need a new forge, I figured I'd build one based on a couple of designs that I'd seen online. I designed the whole thing in Blender using measurements that I'd gotten from the hardware place where I've got the materials, but the measurements I had only gotten by phone. So when I called them, they told me that they were 24 by 12 by 6 bricks, centimeters. In imperial, I think that's
300 foot, 400, maybe a mile high, who knows?
So, the materials have arrived and they actually measure, that's wrong, and they actually measure 24 and a half by 11 by 6. Which means my design is slightly off, which I can revisit. I might revisit for a few reasons I'll get to in a second. But generally, they should give me the right design. I shouldn't be off by too much. Because so many different things can go wrong in a project like this, I want to have as much prepared ahead of time as possible. I want to have everything set up. I want to have a order of process set out. I want this to go as smoothly as possible, so I'm trying to eliminate any potential pitfalls. A friend of mine is helping me build this, and we did the base yesterday, and it's all set up now, I think. But with this now, I was able to cut the slats that will support the bed at the top. Also prepared, I have a side access door that I've made. I need some copper rivets to put it all together. I have the motor. It's just a little kitchen motor, but should do fine. I have a more powerful motor that I might switch out for that if I find that that's not powerful enough. But I feel like the other one is maybe too powerful. I don't want it blowing coal all over the place. I have the tweer, I have the fire pot, I have the clinker breaker, which I've never used before. I've always used grills, but I've got all of that done. And all of the mechanisms to actuate all of these things. So the fan has a choke on it. I actually tried making a mechanical iris. That was a disaster. But it's got a little ventilation thing that I can actuate from the sides. I want this to work on both sides. I want it to work from both sides, so it's going to have a 2-3-way switch. I'll get to all that when I get there, but basically I need it to work from all sides. All of the things that actuate everything, I have the ash release, that's lever activated, that's got to be from both sides. I have the clinker breaker that just sort of turns, and I have the choke for the motor that is also a lever. As far as the measurements being off and the design potentially not working, where I'm at now is I'm going to cut all of these trapezoidal pieces for this front curve. However, here in the side, I have an arch. I have 2 arches that are the width of 2 bricks end to end. It's about 49 centimeters. So this whole thing is designed brick, half brick, brick, half brick. So it's overlapped by half a brick. You can sometimes do 2/3 or 3/4. There's reasons to do all those, but I want the, classic I don't know if it's actually classic, but brick, half brick overlap. My concern is that where the curve meets the curve, the arch, the design of the back and the design of the curve have to meet over the arch in a continuing pattern. And now that the design has been slightly modified, because with the new measurements it's now a half brick longer, I worry that I didn't account for that. So basically I just need to make sure that the first row of this curve starts out correctly. I don't know if I need the center brick or 2 center bricks on the bottom. And then again, it'll alternate half overlap. At the very top, it's going to have these slats that I've cut, and those are going to support just rows of bricks. But on top of that, I have these refractory bricks, which are a different measurement also. So these are 22 by 11 by 3. Yes, centimeters. In imperial, I don't know.
We certainly don't, because we have no idea. Well, we're metric now, so 30 cubic litres high, right?
What? Yes. So on top, I'm going to have these refractory bricks in a herringbone pattern, which is going to be a little annoying when I have to set the fire pot, because I'm going to have to cut all of that. But get there when we get there. So basically, I'm making this video because I've seen online there aren't a lot of videos to this effect. There's one guy, he's got like 4 videos about a brick forge he built. There's a great blog about it, but that's a few years old at this point. But I've seen that there aren't many videos detailing brick forge construction. I didn't really get much of the other things. I might talk about them a little when we get there. The fire pot, the tweer, the access door, all of that stuff. There's a good amount of engineering, but it was mostly me fumbling around until I got it right. A lot of trial and error. So it didn't really make for, it might have made for a good video. Not the way I edit them. So I'll talk about them when I get there. But basically, that's what I'm up to. That's the start. I got a guy helping me do this because I don't know anything about mortar and brickwork. But he's got very strong opinions about how this should be done. I have very strong opinions about how this should be done. Ultimately, it's my fucking forge. I gotta live with this thing for the next 30 years. So I just gotta get him on board. That's it. That's all I can do. Also, he doesn't want to be recorded, so you'll probably see a blurry figure in these videos, which is fine. It's not about him, it's about the forge. So, that's it. That's where we're at now. In the meantime, if I need to forge something, I do have my gas forge, which I built, which works, you know. But I also have a project that I need to do when he's not here. Basically, when this is still, I have some tables that I've been asked to do that are just sort of fabricated. Square tubing, very angular, industrial-ish design. So that'll keep me busy, at least. I'm not wasting too much time while this is getting built. That's about it for now. I think that'll be the only real spoken part. There'll be a couple snippets here and there, but hopefully you'll enjoy. Thanks for joining me. Here we go. So I got most of these cut now. These are going to be the course of bricks to make the front curve. These aren't all of them, but these are the next 6 rows of curve. So every one of these I had to sort of clamp and cut with a large angle grinder. Once the clamping got to be a little excessive, I tried making a sort of foot clamp, kind of based on a shaving horse. I didn't really like that. It didn't feel safe. It put me in kind of an awkward position with the large angle grinder, and it just wasn't saving me the time that I thought it would. So I went back to the clamp. Once I got the hang of it, it went pretty fast. I worked until I could still see outside, which was about 6 o'clock. It gets pretty dark now, so that's these guys. I tried, and if I'm in an awkward position, it's because I don't want to move this thing. I tried making a form out of just round bar. I realized pretty quick that that wasn't going to be uniform, so if I had a forge already built, that might have been a little easier, but I'm still going to use that because I want the ring, sort of semicircular ring, where I can put my tongs and whatnot, but it's not going to work for the form. So I came up with this idea, and as it happens, this fits perfectly, and it'll give me a good way to get the right distance for each course of bricks. And I can make a pretty good semicircle. I laid the bricks on top to see how well it works, and there's 3 bricks here that are a little bit inset, very, very slightly, shouldn't be able to notice it really. But these first ones were laid down with the drawing that was on the ground, and I kind of adjusted them because it was not quite perfect. With this now, it will be perfect. I've marked this out in case it does move, but it's plumb, it's straight. The only thing, when this gets high, a little higher, it might pull it a little bit, but we'll deal with that when we get there. If this lays on top of the brick, that should be fine. Also, because this has to continue to meet this part, the height of each course is also important, because if you get it wrong by a little bit, it'll add up and then it'll go all wonky fuzzets, and I don't want that. And I did that much, A, because it got dark, and B, because tomorrow we're gonna lay up to this height. And then we can put the arch. The bricks are going to be the size of basically 1 brick. I'm cut them half and then angle them. This is gonna be a bitch. All of these guys, there's, how many do I have of these? 10 or 11. That has to be 11, the keystone. 11. These are pretty specific, the way that they're all worked out. In any case, the rise should be about 1 brick. That's not right. 2 bricks? 1 brick? I'll figure that out. So these are 49 centimeters, or the width of 2 bricks end to end. And these will go here, one over here, well, up here, obviously. Up here and one over here. So basically where we're at now, tomorrow, we gotta do this course of bricks that sit on top of this first one. And while that's drying, I can cut the wedges for the actual arches. And then the next day, we can do the arches. So, once we got the arches, there should be another 3 Or is it 4? I gotta figure it out. But once we got the arches, I'm gonna have to cut more of these and finish those courses. There's 4 in the front, yes. So there's 3 rows of brick to join with the top of the crown and join the front curve with the back. And then there's one final one that goes on top to keep the coat from falling off the edge, basically. So there's gonna be 4 more of these after those are laid, and I think just 3 more for the rest of the forge. So that's where we're at now. Hopefully one step at a time. Everything in its place. Onwards and upwards. Ooh, how do I get out of here? Okay, there we go. So, I'll talk a little about these arches that I cut. But here, at this point, I had a decision to make. So, these slats run all the way across, and those are what I'm going to put my bricks on. And this is going to be basically the last layer. On top of this are refractory cement, refractory bricks, and with their own mortar. And these are all going to be in a herringbone pattern. And this is basically going to be the top of everything. Now, here's my issue. These rest on top of this other rail, which I basically cut slits into so that it would bend. I think once this is set, it doesn't really need to be welded to anything. There were 2 pieces that I welded together in the middle, but it's basically just to keep it straight and to keep these attached to something. So these I will spot weld. I'm just going to tack them on so they don't shift around. But they're not really meant to do anything except support the weight. All of this is going to get mortared when I put this top layer on, so that should be absolutely fine. The question is, do I stop here and put the last layer on top, or do I do one more row before putting this on? It was designed with 11, but then the design changed when I realized that the guy I'm working with, his mortar is only 5 millimeters instead of 10. So that's over the course, 1 row less. So this would be correct to do 1 more layer and then apply this. And I think ultimately that's what I'm going to do. I made this tube so I could actually set up the fire pot and all the mechanisms. That was this height. So if I add an extra row before applying this, it's going to be a little higher. I'll have to modify that stand and try it again to measure where exactly I need to poke through for all of the knobs and gadgets to go through. Ah, yes, right. So on the very top, once I get this final row, I'm going to have one extra row just of the curve to keep all the carbon from just flowing over. And I'm trying to decide if the last row I want to be refractory as well. So if I do make them all refractory, then I'm done cutting for now until I get the refractory bricks, the 6mm ones, and then I got to keep cutting. But that's all of the weird stuff. There's a couple of cutoffs here and there, but those are all standard. Also, if I did this here, what that would mean for this access door is it would run into, you can't see it from there, but it would run into this rail here. So also for that reason, because I made this a specific size so that I could put the motor in from here if I need to. I don't know. I think I'll have to do it this way. So I didn't much talk about the arches. I apologize. There's a lot of videos that talk about how to do arches. The guy I'm working with, he did okay. I would have done it a little bit different, but trial and error. Learn as you go. One thing I've seen people do is you measure from the top of the approaching brick to the top of that brick, the distance from here to there, and you inset that, and then from there to there, you inset that, you take the height, and that's where that mark is, and you cut them all out that way. With this, I found it was a lot easier to just take the brick, get it at the right height behind, and just mark it, and that was pretty easy. The tricky part was actually cutting it, because all I have is a large angle grinder. So I had to cut it flat, and then I had to go in and grind all that stuff away. So the inside doesn't really matter. You just fill that with mortar. Just be aware that the more you hollow that out, the more mortar you have to put in there. I'm noticing though, that this might be a tad close there at the end. If I push this backwards. No, I think I'm gonna trim that just very, very slightly. I can probably do that with a hand file. And then I just did one at a time. I had to do the same thing for these. Actually, honestly, I'm not sure what I did here, but these are way too high. And so that's gonna have a lot of fill-in. Again, live and learn. So, another thing I gotta do, I think I'm gonna run this now as is with the bricks in this orientation. So it's basically gonna be a bunch of these slats all the way to the end and see what kind of shapes I get. So I know how I need to cut the bricks, because I suspect there's going to be situations where I might have to cut these rounded ones to allow this to sit in there correctly as I get to the edge. I'm gonna do that now, and if I can get a shot of that, you will have seen what I was talking about. for a quick update. So, I got the base done. The only thing missing now from the top is the refractory bricks. So I think, since that's all that's missing, I did this top part last night, or yesterday evening. I think it's time to take out the supports. So I'm very curious to see how my arches look and how the whole thing looks kind of as a whole. I'm getting more used to the idea of this height. I was worried for a second. I thought it'd be a little bit better if it were lower. It actually might have been better if it were lower, and maybe a brick smaller. I don't know if I've said that already or if I keep saying it. If it were lower, I think a lot of these sort of handles and knobs and widgets and trinkets and knickknacks and doodads, I think they would have been too low. So I think this is actually a good height. I think for the refractory layer, I've already done a test run. I need to lay all those out again. I worry a little bit about this lip because the refractory surface is going to be slightly smaller right up until it hits the curve, and then the curve is going to be the same size. But we'll see. We'll see how I feel about that. What else? That's about it. I've been going forward with these things, and I'm currently getting the socket covers printed. I pressed them. Now I just need to put the design on them, etch them, and give them that antique-y look. So those are going to be in copper. I got to do one here, one on the other side. I cut the notch already for the cup, but I got to do that on this side and that side as well. This is for the switch. On the other side, for the one that's already cut, that's for the wire. In fact, I should turn that off. I tested it to see if I have a little LED light up here. I need to take this support out because it's awkward to get to it like this. So that's where I'm at now. Once the refractory level is on, surface, then this should be pretty good to stand on even. I mean, it's basically just a big brick wall. I need to finagle this tube in any case, so I'll do that when this is dry. I'm getting more and more nervous about that fan. I think it might be too small. I won't know until I test it, but in the meantime, I've been prepping my other fan, ventilator rather, which is bigger. It's a lot bigger. So big, in fact, I'm a little worried about it blowing all my coals out. But I might do a test run with the fire pot and the fan, the ventilator, just to see after this part is dried. So I might get to the flue a little bit later. We'll see. So that's it. I'm waiting to put the door on and the rows and all of these little things until I get them back from the printer. And that's going to be mostly details. A lot of that's going to just be done afterwards. But I'm going to start with taking out these supports very carefully. I mean, it should be good. I don't see what would go wrong, but leave it to me to fuck this up. Okay, so I'd say the base is essentially done. I got most of the mechanisms in. I haven't cemented any of the pieces yet, except for the switches, the power outlet, and I've screwed in the telegraph command for the ventilation throttle. This has a bed of refractory cement to keep it level, so it's more or less level. I think these two tiles are a little low-ish, but the corners are right, and that's how I set it in there, so that'll have to do. I think it's good enough. As you can see, I've set up a bit of how I want this done. I considered for a while using a metal hood. The problem with the side draft is that the side kind of gets in the way. There's a lot of room to maneuver over here, and if it's not that big, I can more or less get it in there. I mean, that's a decision I have to make now, because this stuff goes up tomorrow if I decide on this. I think I have decided on this. There's a lot of calculations to do with airflow that I'm honestly kind of guessing at. I think I will have some sort of attachment, either fixed or removable. Probably removable, so I'm gonna deal with that later. Also, something that I liked about my old forge is there was a tube, this tube here, that while it was sort of steady, you could put that on there and it would kind of draw the wind out automatically, even when it was off. So I could go up, have lunch. That was loud. So I could set the tube on and it would sort of coast for a couple of hours. Something like this might do something similar, and that'll just direct it into the flue. We'll see. All of that is after I build this and actually confirm that this works. That's kind of scary because it has to go up before any of that. I'm not going to tear this down once it's up. What I've heard about this, there's a very good video by Black Bear Forge talking about his side draft hood. It's a metal hood which just attaches to the side. But I've read similar things on some of the forums and blogs that I've looked at, where the entrance has to be a specific area for the suction to be, let's say, efficient. Part of that is you want more air to be heated and moving out of the way than the air coming in from the forge. Also, the shelf helps with the air current. I don't need a smoke shelf for anything like the elements. It's not gonna rain in here. I got a long, actually let me show. So part of the issue is that this tube goes all the way across the shop. And then it goes up and out through the roof. Also, it is, I don't know if this is gonna be visible at all. No, it's not. But it is on an incline. My whole shop, it's at least, I think it looks like about 5 degrees. To be clear, this is what was here before when I had my other forge and it worked fine. It was pretty close to the actual fire. And this is a little bit further away, so that's my main concern. I think I'm gonna do a little shelf when I get to the arch that will come off the spring line, I think it's called. Haven't decided on that yet, but that's pretty easy to do. when we get there. It's going to be about as tall as the actual base. The actual base is, I think, 13, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 rows plus the refractory. This is going to be 5 rows of bricks before we get to the arch. The refractory shelf, if I put it in, is going to be number 6, and then another 5, I believe, on top of that. So what's that? 11 rows. 4, 8. Oh, 8 is not double. 4, 5, 6, 8, and another 4. Okay. So about 12, I guess. Yeah, same as the base. So that's where I'm at now. I cut most of these that I needed to cut. That's just holding those up. This is going to come in at a bit of an angle. All of the inside is refractory bricks. The outside is all regular brick. I don't know how that's going to be influenced by the heat. I guess I'll find out. But the refractory on the inside should, I think, be enough. Also, I don't know how much of this heat is going to be in the tube. Because if this doesn't work, what I was thinking of was actually putting an axial ventilator in line with the tube. I really don't want to do that. Like, traditionally, you don't need that. But if I have messed up the design, actually I'm not going to know that until it's built, it's dried, and I've lit the fire for the first time. So I've done a couple of tests with half of a tank drum, just a tank base basically. And this was at an incline. It came out to about here, and that was kind of hit or miss. I think most of the smoke went in, but some would come out the front, and that's kind of what worries me. Once it gets going, it should be fine. Sunny day, I think when the flue outside is actually heated by the sun, it actually moves the air on its own. So basically, I'm kind of sort of hoping for the best. And after all the engineering that went into the base of this thing, that's not the best position to be in. Not a situation I enjoy. But for the sake of honesty, I figured I'd sort of update you on where I am now, what my doubts are, my hopes and dreams, fears and loathing, and see where we end up tomorrow. But as far as design, I like how this looks. I know that should be secondary, but forged like this, I put a lot of consideration into the aesthetics. Also because it's visible from my storefront, and that was a big part of why I did this way. I want people to look in here and see a pretty cool shop. I think people are more inclined to actually come in and give me their business if that's the case. Also, I want to do something at the top, maybe a shield or my insignia or something once this whole thing's built. Hopefully in a day we'll get this whole thing built, but I don't know. 2 layers. I got regular bricks, regular cement, refractory bricks, refractory cement. So it's going to be a little bit complicated, I'm sure. Anyway, that's where I'm at now. Wish me luck. Okay, so for the test run, like I said, there's a lot of tubing here, so I'm gonna just light some packing material. And then we'll get the actual fire going. Actually, I should set that up, shouldn't I? Yes, I should. Some kindling. So you do this enough, you kind of get used to how to lay everything out. I've not done this with this one before, so I'm kind of going by my campfire skills. Let's keep some of this stuff close. And let's keep that here, ready to go. Alrighty, just start going. Looks like it's working. Mostly. I got some coming out. Well, the flame's absolutely out. But oof, no. That's no good. I wonder if yeah, all right. So until it gets going. Oof. Hot. Yeah, all right. This was in the end the risk. This place is smoky. I mean, it is kind of far, I'll be honest. Okay, so we're back at it. I've made a couple adjustments. I have, ooh, that's nice. I have a telescoping hood, the base of which itself comes out a little bit further than the actual opening. I don't know if this picks up on camera. I got two going. Hopefully I can zoom in, but there seems to be a pretty good draft already going. I don't know if that's just the weather today, but might not even need this. I'm going to toss it in I'm going to toss it in anyway. But the hood hopefully is also going to allow me, when I need to go out for lunch or something, to lower this and have it coast for a couple hours if I'm away from the forge. A couple of things. So the base of this telescoping hood is 1.5 millimeters. The other three are thinner. I think they're 0.8 if I'm not mistaken. This one comes out pretty good, and it stops where it's supposed to. These two do not. So I think what I need to do is, that's not supposed to come out that much though. Ah, poo. So I think what I need to do is curve this down a little bit more. Maybe curve the back of this one up so it catches better. And same with this one. This one, if I pull too much, it'll come out. The reason I want to do that is that once this is going, obviously that's going to get pretty hot. So I'm going to put a tab on here, and even just with the poker, I can move her in and out. For now, I got to do it by hand, which obviously is a little problematic. So, I got this up here. I wanted to do a final light and see how she goes. Like I said, I'm going to throw this in there. But there seems to be, there's an audible draft, so that's definitely good. So, let's try it out. Oh, look at that. Let's put that in there. In you go. Now that's going. Something else also that I did, I switched out my small blower with the large one. I was worried it might be too powerful, but the other one was decent, but I wanted a little bit more power. Now I have that. The problem with this new blower though, the other one would turn on and off, and this one kind of coasts to a stop. So, what are you doing? There you go, come on. So I just need to be aware, if I turn it off and I got stuff burning in the fire, it's not enough to just turn it off. I gotta remember that it's gonna take a bit. So, here we go. Yeah, that's not bad. A little too powerful. Well, I'm only at not even half. That's already going pretty hot. There she is. I got a window cracked. Oh, that is a problem. What's going on now? Oh no, she's fine. Just a little bit of flare up. She's okay. I don't know what happened. Got stuck for a moment. She's fine. She's good. No worries. We're okay. Are we okay? Now that's interesting. I might have a gap in my tube. Shit. I think she's settled now. Okay, something weird at the end of the tube towards the wall. Oh, I see it. Damn it. All right. Yeah, after a couple of adjustments, I didn't tape all of the joints, so I'm gonna need to do that. But it's just a bit of seepage. Seems okay though. I don't know how hot this thing will get, but I'm a little worried it's powerful enough to just melt the bottom out of this thing. Since I've put the powerful blower on there, I've never had it all the way to the top. Maybe turning it on like this, but it gets pretty fucking hot. So, might be able to do some woots as well. Still a bit dangerous, again. I mean, that's, what, 10, it's about a centimeter thick, the fire pot, but I don't know if that's enough, really. So yeah, I got the window cracked to allow for the pressure. I threw some bricks inside to restrict how big the space is. So a smaller space down here allows for some expansion at the top. I think that was also part of the problem. But I get to keep my space. I get to have it further away from the opening. If I don't need this, I can take it off. Once this gets coked up, it burns pretty clean, so we'll see sort of case by case, but I'd say I'm pretty happy with this. That is going good. Well done, me. All the mechanisms work. Like I said, the clinker breaker sometimes gets stuck if I've got some small pieces of carbon in there, but once they clink, you can break them pretty easily. Just gotta let it go for a while. It doesn't much restrict the flow. I got it drilled out the center, so that's good. I hope I can make this a little easier to use, but that's her for now. That's my stone phoenix. I do gotta throw this on the fire at some point, but there she is. I'm thinking I'll do a quick follow-up just to talk about some of the details involved in this build. I think I probably talked about most of the pitfalls, most of the design and engineering, but there's a couple of things I maybe left out. So I'll make a sort of companion video to this whole series. But that's about it. Thanks for watching.